Welcome to the Winners and Losers Show. Hello, everybody. My name is Hank Thompson. I'm the host of the show. I'm going to be the host of the show until all the Supreme Court justices are not credibly accused, alleged rapists. So we got our work cut out for us. Welcome to America, where we don't have just one credibly accused attempted. Well, Clarence Thomas was a sexual harasser and assaulter. Or let's not get stuck in the pubes of that conversation, but we're currently in the middle of putting another one on the board. As if America wasn't horrible enough, the Republicans are forcing their will on a country that doesn't want their will. Kind of like, you know where that was going. Obviously, that was very clumsily done. Welcome to the show. This is our number 2 of the return. Wait, that's Twin Peaks. The relaunch. We're back. I'm back. It's just me again. This is awkward. I don't like doing the solo thing. I'm not used to it, but I got to get used to it because I'd rather do a terrible show solo than bother with booking people and actually having real conversations with human beings. I mean, that's going to happen. We're going to get there. We're definitely going to get there for sure. I live in Los Angeles, man. It's the king of real human beings. Okay, everybody here is super legit, super. They don't look over your shoulder when they talk to you because I'm tall. That's how that works. That's okay. Not God. Fuck. So welcome to episode 2. A little bit, it's sloppy right now. As I've told you, I've got this new job. Got some updates on that, by the way. I've been fired, so that's coming up. No, laid off. I've already lost it. Fuck. But anyway, I'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah. So, see, now I'm all distracted. Some housekeeping. I'm working out my system here. I've got some notes here. I got Evernote. I really like Evernote. I've been trying to make this shit organized and stuff, but I've been busy lately too because I still have the job. It'll be over on Friday, so I haven't been able to. I needed a day to sleep and stuff. So all right. So anyway, little housekeeping. Couple stories coming up later. We're going to talk about Kavanaugh. Can't not talk about Kavanaugh. He's the guy. He's the man in the center, and of course Trump got a little jelly. I can't jealous, and now he's also the guy in the center of the attention thing because he's about to fire Rod Rosenstein, the deputy director of the FBI, the guy's overseeing the Mueller and blah blah. We've all seen and heard a lot of talk about that, because I'm not going to really get into that this time, but it's a good thing Americans are really up to speed on the ins and outs of executive branch staffing concerns. Nothing gets Americans more agitated and out in the streets than hiring and firing decisions at layers below. Most Americans don't even know who the fucking vice president is. I mean, are you shitting me that we're supposed to actually respond to this thing? It's a big deal. It's obstruction of justice. Trump is using and the timing is convenient. He's using his own crime, his own obstruction of a crime of justice to cover up and distract from the crimes of his Supreme Court appointee. So it's nice and convenient that we live in a country where this is possible. Way to go, fucking stupid people. I take it back. That stupid people. Didn't mean to swear. I don't want to get kicked off CNN or I don't know. So anyway, that's a big problem. We're going to see what happens. It actually is a huge problem, but it's we don't live in a country that knows how many states there are. So anyway, we're also going to talk about Fahrenheit 11/9. I finally have been using my movie pass. I'm a sucker. I've been wasting my money. I've watched like 4 movies. I've been signed up on that shit for several months since like early last year, and I'm broke these days anyway. I shouldn't have done that, and I figured if I see 2 or at least even 1, it pays. But then I just did that thing where and you just keep giving them money. But lately, I'm using it, and I'm determined to see a bunch of movies, and then maybe actually it's probably good like content to talk about. Oh fuck! I said content. I hate that word. I hate it. It is probably an accurate word for a lot of what's going on around here, but it's now everybody's gonna know I'm a sellout. But anyway, I saw Fahrenheit 11/9. I have some thoughts about it. Some interesting movie. Lots to say if I can remember stuff. What else do we got here? So those are probably like the bigger topics. I'm going to try to keep this one around an hour. Actually, I got a guy coming by to measure my stove. I broke my stove and guy's coming by to give us a new stove, but he's got to measure it and stuff. So I just hope we get a new stove, not just some like other shitty apartments old stove that still works, because what we got is all fucked up and crappy, and the clock thing never worked. So as far as I can tell, it's time. The time is 13. I don't know. All right, couple housekeeping things first. I owe an apology, and I want to make this very clear. Thom Hartmann, I'm sorry. For some reason, I took a dump on Thom Hartmann in the last episode. It was totally accidental. I didn't mean it. I was just listing shows, and my brain jumped over to another topic somewhat adjacent about how Democrats suck at communicating their messages, but it made it seem like I was crapping on Thom Hartmann, who is a hero of mine. If he were a Magic the Gathering card, I would keep it. Put it in one of the decks I use, on first dates to show off to women how sophisticated I am. So anyway, I fucked up, Tom. I'm sorry, buddy. I really didn't mean to imply. It seemed like I was holding him to like a comedy standard. He's not a comedian. Not even trying to be a comedian. It's not funny at all. Fuck no. Shit, I did it. Fuck. I can apologize next time. Anyway, I like Tom. Listen to his show. I've been listening to his show for years, off and on lately, but he's always a good option to tune in if you want to hear his perspective. And he's got a good perspective, and he's informed a lot of the ways I look at the world. So give Tom a chance. I mean, not just a chance, give him your ears and your attention, and he's a good guy. Spells his name goofy, but it'll work. It works anyway. He knows that. All right. Sorry, Tom. All right. I wish you were my dad. Okay. Seems like not because I have a problem with my dad. I just think Tom seems like a good dad. Like explains stuff before like making you stay home from the quinceanera or whatever the hell, I don't know. Yeah, so hopefully someday he and I can share a bag of oatmeal. All right, moving on. ThomHartmann.org.com. Give it a look. Give it a listen. All right. Okay. Another thing I wanted to clarify. So I listened back to the yesterday, the last episode. Messy. Yeah, it's a little messy. There's some long pauses in there. I wasn't feeling real comfortable. It's this solo thing is kind of difficult, but like everything, and I've learned this from stand-up and from podcasting and radio or whatever else, it's never as bad as you think in the moment. Like your brain is always going, it sucks, dude, what do you do? But you got to just kind of trust it. See, I bumped my thing. You got to trust that your immediate perception, your internal dialogue is over-dramatizing things a bit. People don't look as nervous as their body feels in the moment. So wasn't horrible. Definitely not something I would put on the internet, but that's how this shit works. You kind of have to, or at least if you're trying to do what I'm trying to do. So what the hell was I talking about? Oh, I did say one thing. I mentioned that I went to private school, rich kid school. That's true, but it was only for a year and a half. I didn't go the whole time. The rest of my education, I don't know why I feel like this needs clarifying, but the rest of my education was from just shitty standard American Midwestern public school. One day I fell off a thing, and I was like 6, and I landed on an easel. This is in the 80s when they had funding for paint, so I busted into the easel, and I got a whole bunch of paint in my hair, and it was very upsetting. I didn't cry till I got home, though. I remember being terrified of being judged for having painty hair, and now look at the world. Painty hair is in. It is the thing. So, trendsetter here. And by that I mean cry when you get home. You gotta learn that lesson early. Cry when you get home. Don't cry on the way home. Don't be that psycho crying at a red light or on the train. Come on, grow up. Fucking stuff it down and cry later. Yeah. So I went to this fancy rich kid school because my mom got us into it. For some, I don't know why. I think she met the headmaster. She was a cashier at the grocery store. They call them headmasters. Do they still call them headmasters? That topic might come up a little bit in our discussion about Brett Kavanaugh, these Georgetown prep, these private rich kid schools. I think that's a boarding place. The one I went to wasn't boarding, but it was where all like the local rich families, and actually people would drive like an hour away to take their kids to this place. So it was like the kind of thing. So I did get some exposure to that, but they kicked us out because we had too much money. We were poor enough, according to how my mom, but then they found out how much money my dad made, which wasn't anywhere near enough to afford to go to the school, but it was more than the scholarship qualified. So I got booted out in the middle of 7th grade, sent to a public school, and that was horrible. I got bullied. I got beat up by a girl because I hadn't hit puberty yet. And man, that was a bad year. I had no friends. We were on public assistance lunch. I remember too. We had these, the way they made you use your public assistance lunch was, if you qualified, you got your food only cost 40 cents, and we could afford 40 cents, but not more than that. So we had these, but they made every kid that was on it across from the registers at the lunch line. Some random ass memories coming out here, but just hang with me. Across from the register on the wall was like this big blanket thing with all these little slots sewn in, and so everybody kept their card in a little slot on the big blanket thing, big holder. So you had to go over there, pull out your poor people card and show it, and then they were like, okay, 40 cents. Like, that's how they did it. But I had internalized the shame somehow. It was just a fucked up year. And then I remember I just stopped eating lunch, and I was just like hungry and would get bullied by the other kids at lunch. And then a girl beat me up. That was unrelated to the bullying. Fun story. Maybe I'll tell it in my memoirs. No, I don't know. It's fine. Sometimes you get beat up, Anyway, so that's it. So the public school was most of how I got. And then I did a whole nother year at the rich person school for 9th grade, and then switched again. So, all right, I just wanted to name. I didn't want anybody to think I'm coming from some fucking Brett Kavanaugh style Georgetown shit. All right? The only reason I could fit in at those places is because I was a honky who could turn in his homework and raise his hand. I was like one of those ASCII questions guys. Like, can I take this mutilated frog home? I'm like, no, you fucking weirdo. But I'm hungry. No, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. I'm a fat fuck. I was a fat fuck for most of high school and college, and then I just been like fighting my fat fuckiness most of my life. It's getting better lately, though. By the way, I can finally fit into my gray pants, and I say that deliberately because that's the thought that distracted me from another thing that I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on in the previous episode. I was trying to describe something, one of the ways I look at the world, and one of the ways I analyze things, and kind of instinctively I do this, and I'm going to apply some words to it, and hopefully it makes sense. But then I started talking about how I can fit into my gray pants, and it's just, I've lost weight. I tried on my other gray pants. Those fit too. So now I got 2 pants that match my Prius. So look out. Dating scene. Anyway, so what I was saying, though, right before that in the previous episode, and I'm going to bring it up right now, is I was talking about how I take more of a systems approach to sort of analyzing things. Not that I have some strict structure, but my thinking tends to line up with, like, instead of critiquing individual choices, I look at what are the conditions that influence that choice and set up that choice. And I was bringing up fashion as, I think, a good example of how that works. Like, how we all wear blue jeans. Everybody has tons of blue jeans. It's like the standard thing. It's an individual choice to put on blue jeans. But is it? Is it really? Why do we all wear blue? Like, there's more going on than just individual choices in almost everything. And so it's just sort of a framework. I think fashion's an interesting example because it's kind of arbitrary, and we think we're making individual choices, but we're really reflecting biases and influences and subconscious and conscious influences and all this other stuff that goes into it. It's not just something that you could apply to psychology or psychological analysis, but like just to, mechanical systems as well, or just like my roommate told me about people at his building that use the freight elevator, and it's really annoying because I don't know, for some reason it's obnoxious. People press the freight button, and my thinking on that is that's a design flaw. Yeah, you can hold the personal people like, hey, fucking don't press the freight elevator. That's for freight and people with vacuums and stuff. Get out of but it's also a system thing. Why somebody made a choice to design a building that way, make it so it's possible, and so that's the thing that needs to change. And when you apply this to politics, this is sort of why, like, I don't have angry. I'm not angry at Hillary. I'm angry at the system that produced someone like Hillary and that allows that sort of thing to flourish. That sort of thing, not her. I just mean like the kind of taking money from companies or like this, the systems that allow our politics to work. And those are the things that we need to change. There is such a thing as individual decision-making and personal responsibility, quote unquote. But overall, I think the real changes and the real needle moving has to be done on the systems side of these things. So doesn't mean that you shouldn't occasionally get mad about people or pissed off about a specific person or a specific incident, but it's generally there's that systems context that I see people leave out a lot, and I try not to do that. So I'm sure I'll fuck it all up. I hope some of that made sense. Not just trying to pick on Hillary, by the way, but just that she, to me, is a good example of like a person who garners a lot of individual anger, but exists and thrives in a much larger system that's the actual problem, which is just the legalized bribery that is America. So she's not in power. People who think are obsessed with her need to fucking grow up. It's ridiculous. So although I just brought her up out of nowhere, so you could easily leverage the same charge at me. I'm just using an example of specifics versus systems. Okay, good. I hope that made a little more sense. Can fit in my gray pants finally, guys. Yeah, it's just exciting when you lose weight and you can wear your clothes because it's like I was down to one pair of pants. The stretchy jeans, I bought them on accident. I didn't know they were stretchy. I didn't see the stretch on the thing, and I bought them, and all of a sudden these fucking stretchies show up, and I'm like, wow, they're stretchy. What am I, a mom? And then I put them on, and I'm like, ooh, I'm a mom. It was awesome. I loved the stretchy pants. And I wore those while I was a fat ass, and I've lost like around 25, 30 pounds last year or so, and now I can wear my old pants, and, it's exciting. It's exciting. All right. I can't believe I'm putting this out. All right, so let's talk about Brett Kavanaugh. This fucking guy, I'm sure you've seen, if you're paying attention to this stuff, I don't necessarily need to hit all the beats that have gone on, but he's in case you're not familiar, he's the guy being nominated. Wow, such a sophisticated way of putting it. He is the Trump's Supreme Court nominee to replace retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy, who has his own illicit background of bullshit. His son gave Trump a loan. He's got his kids are all over the corruption industry. Kennedy even, it sounds like he even had some say, or at least some influence and some requests that Kavanaugh be picked for this role. But Kavanaugh is this guy. So he, as we've learned, and now we're recording here on Tuesday afternoon. Just check my phone in case the stove guy comes over. Nope. So Kavanaugh has now been credibly accused by two women who have put themselves into a very precarious position. The First Lady, Dr. Blasey Ford, was the first one to come out, and she alleges that he at a party was very drunk and held her down, put his hand over her mouth. That his buddy Mark Judge was there. This Mark Judge guy is a real clown, man. He's got all kinds of insane shit with like weird videos with women and crazy writing, sexually charged stuff, and all kinds of nuttiness going on. They're both admitted to frequent blackout drinking during this time. Although when we play a little audio from Kavanaugh's interview with the Fox News Channel, he'll make it seem like he's just this sweet old little choir boy who never could have done nothing wrong. But these guys were up to no good, and it seems like these prep school kids, these places where they just groom you for going to fancier schools and getting these big name places on your resume so that you can then join the government and slowly be groomed into being one of these fuckfaces who calls the shots over the way the rest of us have to live. This Kavanaugh is certainly a part of that. This kind of just incestuous, circle jerky bullshit of these prep schools and stuff. Georgetown Prep. You're on notice, motherfuckers. So where was I? All right, so Dr. Blasey Ford comes out, and she's had to move. There's been receiving death threats. The hordes have been released from Mordor, and they're hunting her down. It's looking like she'll be testifying soon on Thursday. That'll be a big deal. We'll see what happens. Same day Trump has planned his firing of Rod Rosenstein, so that's going to be a nice big... the media is going to fall for that bait like nobody else because that's what they're paid to do. So it'll work out for everybody. But then... so over the course of the week, we've seen all these different excuses for why. Like everybody's on the right. conservative commentators, Eric Erickson, all these other yahoos, these idiots out there, just coming up with everything they can to try to make it seem like this is okay. Denying it. Why don't they just constantly deny it? That's like the one thing they should do that you can kind of be like, well, they just deny it. I don't know what you're supposed to say. They'll just say it doesn't. But instead, you see all the time because it's hard to deny because it seems very credible because she was there. And also there's been people coming out with like his freshman year roommate. Actually, I have a tweet from this guy here, if I can find my little tweet button thing that I had picked out. All right, so this freshman roommate, there's actually two dudes so far that I've found as if I'm the one, but that I've got ready to talk about here. One was his roommate, and another was a classmate who he knew during his freshman year who tweeted a little bit about him. So the first guy is James Roche. Said in a statement post on Twitter, here I'm looking at the Huffington Post, that they didn't socialize together much, but would chat at night after Kavanaugh would return from outings with his friends. It is from this experience that I concluded that although Brett was normally reserved, he was a notably heavy drinker, even by the standards of the time, and that he became aggressive and belligerent when he was very drunk, Roche said. So he goes on and on. There's a lot of things to say in this little statement from him. He says that based on my time with, he actually knew the second woman who emerged with some credible allegations about Kavanaugh exposing himself and putting his penis in her face, says that, back to James Roche's statement, he says, based on my time with Debbie, I believe her to be unusually honest and straightforward, and I cannot imagine her making this up. In the next sentence, based on my time with Brett, I believe that he and his social circle were capable of the actions that Debbie described. So that lends some credence to the allegations. Another guy, Steve Kantrowitz, was there. He wrote a tweet. Perhaps Brett Kavanaugh was a virgin for many years after high school, but he claimed otherwise in a conversation with me during our freshman year in Lawrence Hall at Yale in the living room of my suite. So the virgin thing was, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but the virgin thing is Brett Kavanaugh. He's trying to use that as some sort of excuse to say that he's never, how could you possibly sexually assault anybody if you're a virgin? Virgins can assault people. Virgins can do almost anything everybody does, except put a penis in a vagina or other virgin versions, however else you call that, a virgin thing. So, no, you can be an aggressive fucking monster who assaults women sexually and still be a virgin. By the way, not a virgin. This guy's denying that he was a virgin. Apparently, Brett Kavanaugh claims he was, but we'll get into more of that later. Actually, I have some audio to play for that. I hope that works. So, among the excuses, there were the 65 women who signed a letter. They had this ready to go, which is very suspicious, saying that he didn't rape them. Always, most people have a letter from. He went to an all-boy. Okay, I don't need to. All right, whatever. You can listen to other shows that'll break all that shit down. It's all bullshit. I'm hyper self-conscious about repeating stuff I hear on other shows, and it's certainly going to happen. You can only really repeat stuff you've heard, right? It's hard to repeat stuff you haven't heard, I guess, isn't it? So the bullshit has been flying, though, man. There's been so much nonsense coming out of the right about this, and especially the thing saying it's no big deal. Even if it happens, so what? What's it matter? How do any women support this fucking party? These savage pieces of shit. What message is this sending? It's okay to rape girls? If you're drunk? If you're only 17? Oh, if you do rape when you're young. We'll look past that. We'll give you all the power in the world. It's outrageous. Fuck that. Like, what young women? You live in a country where its most important leader, actually its number one leader, is a confessed sexual assaulter. Trump said it on tape. Also been accused by numerous women in other instances. Some similar to the Brett Kavanaugh attack. And all these people voted for him, knowing that. So you can only conclude either people don't care, people don't believe it, or they're okay with it, which is, I guess that's the same as not caring. It's dismaying. I hate that I share a country with millions of people that look the other way on this topic, that are like, oh, it's just rape. Fuck you. I've even heard similar sentiments from like DC reporters. I listen to one of the podcasts I check out every once in a while is some Slate thing. I don't know what are their names. Emily Bazelon and John Dickerson sometimes, and then this other guy. I don't remember. But they were dropping these lines like, well, if it happened that long ago, like they came up with a more nuanced take on it. It's not exactly that. They tend to be very mainstream political DC establishment reporters and stuff. And I just couldn't believe I was hearing this. It's nuts. It's one thing to have had some trouble in your past as a teen. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does something they regret. I wore snap bracelets way past until it wasn't cool anymore. I quit last week. No more. I'm done with it. Frankly, my wrists are starting to heal, and I'm getting past it all. But like, let's just say he got drunk, got caught, DUI, underage drinking. Okay, fine. I could see past that. Made his amends. Maybe even he hurt somebody somehow. Not a fan of violence myself, but you made a violent decision and you regretted it and you made amends and you haven't developed a pattern of violence over your life and you did it when you were 17. Okay. Depending on exactly, I'd like to see the circumstances, were you Pennywise the clown kind of violence? Were you hovering children in a sewer? Or did you just stab a guy or something? Because, I don't know. I don't know how many stabbers I want on the Supreme Court. I'd like it at least be under 3/5 of the entire bunch. What's 3/5 out of 9? That's 3. Fuck. All right. So I could look past a lot of things. I can't look past attempted rape. It's not something you get to just be like, don't worry about it. He was young. She was only 15. What was she doing at the party, huh? It's wrong. And anybody who makes any excuses for it is contributing to a world where young girls are more likely to be raped. So you can all, and of course, it's always the powerful defending the powerful. It's always, he's a white guy. Like white men are considered boys all the way up into their 40s. Donald Trump Jr. and some of the, when he's, as it's been coming out about his meetings with Russians and emails and stuff, as the excuses made for him are, he's just a young kid, didn't know what he was doing. Look the other way. He's in his late 30s, early 40s. Black guy does something wrong. He's 12, 13. People try him. They want to put him away as an adult. They want to assign all these excessive age characteristics to him to try to make it seem like he had it coming, like he should be more of a threat. There's very clearly a double standard going on with all that. That's not that original of a point, but it's worth repeating. It's revealing that we're seeing how much of our world is okay with this kind of behavior. It's once it's too much. And here's an idea. How about we investigate his fucking parents? They raised a rapist, allegedly. I mean, they definitely raised him. They raised an alleged rapist. Those parents, if they had raised a dog that bit somebody, would have been held to account for that. But you can raise a child who's violent. You could raise a child who's a rapist, alleged rapist. And, well, what are you going to do? That's just, I understand that we can't necessarily impose the same responsibilities on human owners as we do on pet owners. But why do we have a stricter policy for pets than for people? People are dangerous animals. Human beings are like really, really smart gorillas with much more violent tendencies. We should have, it just seems absurd. And this is an argument you could make about all kinds of different situations, but it just seems insane that we don't hold parents accountable for their terrible children. Yes, like Dylan Roof's parents. I'm sure they're paying some sort of social cost to their child being a murderer who killed 8 people. I don't imagine that's a good place. Hopefully it's not a good place for them. But if their dog had done something violent, they would have been held to account for that. So social costs, social ostracization exile. Those are the ways of punishing people, I suppose. But I don't know. The Kavanaughs raised what's more than likely, if I were betting, they raised their son into a rapey piece of shit. So I don't know. I just don't think that we should blame only the guy. We should also blame the people who failed at their responsibility to their society, to themselves, to their community, to the girls in their community, and to their own son. Not that Kavanaugh deserves any respect or remorse, or don't feel bad that that's another thing that you see a lot. I think Lindsey Graham said something like, it's just ruining this guy's life. He gets to go back to a several $100,000 a year job as a DC Circuit Court judge. I'm pretty sure that's where he's going. So, all right. So then he goes on Fox News. We got some audio to play here. God damn, it's already over 30 minutes. I love podcasting. It's fun. It's fucking fun. It's way better when I talk to people too, by the way, because then I can think of stuff to say while they're talking and listen to what they're saying too. But all right, so I got some audio from the interview where he went on Fox News. You know, that bastion of impartiality. What a coward runs to his fucking propaganda network to go on TV. First of all, this guy looks like the dude. He looks like the guy in every 80s movie that challenges you to a ski race. And then you like take off down the hill and then he tries to rape your girlfriend. That's that guy. He looks just like the dude whose parents own the ski mountain and so cheats at the ski race. You know, maybe he uses a professional skier in place of him. And he's at the bottom sipping on some rich people drink. Some, Sunny D. I almost said fruit by the foot for some reason. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. All right. So he goes on Fox News. This aired on Monday night. Interview was pre-recorded. And it starts out. So this is just the Fox News YouTube channel here. But this is the way they have it starting. They just open right up, cold open with him talking. He's the first voice you'll hear.
I am looking for a fair process, a process where I can defend my integrity and clear my name. And all I'm asking for is fairness.
He just wants fairness. He just wants it to be fair. Except he also doesn't want an investigation by the FBI. That's a little too fair. There's a little too much honesty, perhaps, that would be exposed from that process. They can do it. It's very easy to do. Hey, did you rape the girl? No. Did he rape you? Yeah. Did you see him rape her? I was drunk. Like his fucking asshole Mark Judge buddy. Okay, sorry, getting straight. Let's keep going with him.
And that I be heard in this process.
He wants to be heard. We don't hear conservative viewpoints enough. This guy Kavanaugh, he wasn't heard when he was part of the Brooks Brothers Mafia, the guys that went banging on the vote counting offices, making a big ruckus during the 2000s, which put fucking Bush in charge. And that look where we are now. Guys giving candy to Michelle Obama. What? He was also like a bigwig in the Bush administration. There's a lot of emails from that time that we have not seen because I'm sure they're all political. This guy's just a political operative. This guy is Karl Rove if he were hot. And by that I'm saying they're both ugly dogs. No offense to dogs. I think dogs are quite handsome. All right. Okay, let's keep going.
Ashley, what has this been like for you the past couple of weeks? I know you've had death threats and all kinds of things coming your way.
That's the unbiased reporter framing the question as in, what's it like surviving death threats to his wife? Now, to be fair to his wife, I mean, she's putting herself on the stage here. She's wearing a pinky ring, too, by the way. A little more excusable that women can get away with pinky rings. I know that's an old school thought that it should matter, but men with pinky rings, what's this arrow sign left? Women with pinky rings, okay? Tweet it out. You get what I'm saying? The arrow sign, the little pointy arrow thing, less than. All right, so here we go.
How does that feel?
Oh, yeah, say it. So be fair to her, she's not a practiced politician's wife. She's not like David Vitter's wife, the Louisiana senator that got caught in the D.C. Madam's book when he was famous for being into wearing diapers during sex. Frankly, I can think of nothing grosser than wearing a diaper during sex. I like to wear nothing. Otherwise, it just all ends up in your diaper. What the fuck? Come on. Oh, yeah, sorry. So anyway, she's not a practice DC or wife. This is a judge's wife, but she's also sitting here with him doing the good wife thing. Here I am supporting my rapey husband. I'm here to deny it. So let's hear what she's got to say.
This process is incredibly difficult. Harder than we imagined.
Oh, she must be doing a solo podcast too.
And we imagined it might be hard. But
you mean lying to the American people to get your fucking backwards husband and one of the most powerful offices in the land was going to be hard? Yeah. Yeah, it should be hard. You had to face Kamala Harris. You had to face 3 or 4 days of discussions. I love that that's what we do. No physical tests. Come on. No, I'm joking around. But it is absurd that we're like, all right, each senator is going to get 5 minutes to ask you. I know they get multiple rounds, but the thing just seems like a really dumb way of doing it. I'm not sure I have a better way. I don't know, 20 minutes? How about we have some long conversations, some debate, some back and forth? There's too much power at stake here. It's important. All right, let's keep going.
At the end of the day, our faith is strong.
Ooh. Already to the faith. That's always a good fallback, though. This plays well to the base. People love the religion. They love being reminded that they, too, are hoodwinked by nonsense. All right, here we go.
And we know that we're on the right path. We're just going to stick to it.
Stick to it. Don't give up. Force your will. Push your hand onto the American people's mouths. Don't allow the American people the right to turn the music up. Make sure that the American people can't be heard. That their screams are overwhelmed by what song do you think they? See, that's the kind of humor I probably shouldn't be. Okay. Yeah. So that's him and his wife sitting there. You know, he is looking like the ski patrol fucking asshole, and they get into different topics. I'm not going to play the whole thing. All right, two things that I found here that I want to play. Just listen for him talking about going to church. I'm going to make a point about their religion after we get to the next one. This actually happened about 13 minutes in, and then the next one is about his virginity, which was earlier, but the order doesn't really matter for the point. But this is him describing what he was focusing on in school. Okay, it wasn't raping 15-year-olds. It was this.
I was focused on trying to be number one in my class and being captain of the varsity basketball team and doing my service projects, going to church. The vast majority of time I spent in high school was studying or focused on sports and being a good friend to the boys and the girls that I was friends with. We have these great lifelong friendships that are fantastic.
The vast majority. It doesn't take a lot of time to rape people at parties, asshole. Got him. No, so he was focused on just being a good old boy, just playing varsity sports. I wish he sucked at. I was really good at. I was trying to be on the JV squad. I played basketball in middle school. They didn't have enough proper shirts to wear, and I was fat, and I had to wear this really tight shirt. That was a bad year. All right, back to this story. The guy, church. He was just going to church, varsity sports, trying to be the number one in his class with good friends. Who could possibly deny a person like this the right to have power over how much pollution we all have to breathe, or how much rights we all have when it comes to dealing with corporations who fuck us over? Or whether or not women should have the right to decide what goes in or out of their own bodies. Should women have sovereignty over their own bodies? Well, no, because this guy was trying to play varsity sports in high school. He was just a good dude. By the way, how creepy was it in hindsight? And I'm not the first to notice this, obviously, but he started his whole confirmation process. God. He started his whole confirmation process by bringing in all these girls, all these teenage girls, the age of the girl that he allegedly attempted to rape, and he just had them all sat behind him. That is so weird. Look at me, I'm a coach. I coach these girls. Fuck that, man. He knew that this shit might come out. Why would that be an effective defense anyway? Am I giving him an uncharitable analysis on that? Yes. Yes, I am. He doesn't deserve it. Okay, you hear me? I've decided. All right, so here we go.
Supporting each other through the ups and downs of life, and you know, they're an awesome group of people.
Just an awesome group of people. All of him and his buddies. So he goes to church a lot. That's the detail I was looking for out of that one. All right, here he is talking about being a virgin. Now, she starts with asking him about some stuff Michael Avenatti, famed bald and porno lawyer. By the way, guys, email me at pornoloawyer@gmail.com. I am always happy to give advice. I give great advice, by the way. My life's a fucking mess, but I do, if yours is too, hit me up. I'll fix it for you. pornoloawyer@gmail.com. Michael Avenatti's back on the scene, as you know. I don't actually know if he's already been out with his details. This guy plays the media game a little too gleefully, I think. But he's generally been up to something and has created quite a lot of waves in this whole story, this whole saga. So I don't necessarily think that his presence is unwelcome, but definitely don't think the motherfucker should be president. He's been talking about running. That's absurd. Run for something smaller, you know. Run for president's wife, you know, something easy. Is that sexist? Fuck. President's husband. Run for president's husband. Good save, buddy. But anyway, so they bring up some of what Michael Avenatti had brought up, and then they ask him to respond to it. And this is where he volunteers something most of us wouldn't admit, that he didn't get any in high school or college or many years after. All right, here we go.
They're looking for. Michael Avenatti says that he has significant evidence, and another accuser who claims that you and Mark Judge at multiple house parties in the Washington, D.C. area during the 1980s would participate in the targeting of women with alcohol and drugs to allow a train of men to subsequently gang rape them. There are multiple witnesses that will corroborate these facts, and each of them must be called to testify publicly. Did you ever participate in, or were you ever aware of any gang rape that happened at a party that you attended?
Well, just check my schedule. Do you see gang rape on my schedule? Well, then obviously not. That's what happened. I am a good father. I go to church on weekdays. So that's me, guys. By the way, that wasn't him. He did release his schedule from that back then, which showed no rapes, or that he wasn't at the part. Like, great, good one. Everybody's buying it. Thanks for the schedule there, high school boy. I should release my high school schedules. It'd just be mostly me just getting frustrated by local BBSs. I was in the 90s high school, guys. But I had internet. The internet's the one friend that can't turn you down. So that's why I got really good at clicking mice on stuff. Let's hear his answer.
That's totally false and outrageous.
It's false and outrageous.
Never done any such thing, known about any such thing. When I was in high school, and I went to an all-boys Catholic high school.
Nothing weird ever goes on at those all-boys Catholic high schools. Nothing fucked up at all. Here we go.
Jesuit high school, where I was focused on academics and athletics, going to church every Sunday at Little Flower, working on my service projects, and friendship with my fellow classmates, and
church every Sunday. Very religious. They're really hammering the religious thing.
Friendship with girls from the local all-girls Catholic schools.
Friendship with the all-girls Catholic schools. Okay, so he's just friends. Nothing bad. Who doesn't trust a face like this?
And yes, there were parties, and the drinking age was 18, and yes, the seniors were legal and had beer there. And yes...
Oh, he didn't get the beer illegally, just so you know. He got it from 18-year-old seniors. I think the drinking age is ridiculous anyway. It does more harm than good. Although if we did lower it like suddenly to like 14 or 16, it would probably get a lot of people killed because America's filled with overstressed savage idiots. But there's a rational, sane approach to alcohol, and banning it until you're 21 is not the rational, sane approach, in my opinion. But side note. All right, now here comes the virgin stuff. So okay, get ready. Dry off your pubes if you're gonna have for this part. All right. Get ready.
People might have had too many beers on occasion, and people generally in high school, I think all of us have probably done things we look back on in high school and regret or cringe a bit.
Yeah, that's a snap bracelet. I think I even had a side spike for a while. Ugh, man. What was the worst day? Yeah. I just regret having to go. I just fucking hated going. It was just horrible. I would say funny shit in class, and everybody would laugh, and then I would. That was it. That was all I did. Somehow I didn't. Still trying to do that, and fuck. All right, let's keep going.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Oh.
We're talking about an allegation of sexual assault. I've never sexually assaulted anyone. I did not have sexual intercourse or anything close to sexual intercourse in high school or for many years thereafter. And the girls from the schools I went to and I were friends.
So you're saying that all...
So he had no sexual intercourse. Remember, he's sitting next to his wife. He's been hammering this religious point a lot. They're just churchies, okay? Right-winger church types. I'm getting to a point that's probably already obvious, but here you go.
Through all these years that are in question, you were a virgin.
That's correct.
Never had sexual intercourse with that.
Now, if you're watching the video, that's his steam starts coming out of his ears, as is the case with all virgins. No, I don't know. That's not true. I'll admit this. I didn't lose my virginity in high school or college. I had to get out of college to do it, to convince someone to, degrade herself with me. It was actually a fun night. I do have actually positive memories of that time. It was all good. But it took me a long way. So I was fat and depressed, and my hair was falling out when I was. I have a big stand-up bit, but I wouldn't call it big. I have a bit about it. So you have to see me perform. I don't know. All right. Yeah. So I was a virgin too. Never thought about raping anybody. Didn't even occur to me. It's not an excuse for him to just bring this. He's saying, I don't know. I don't know why they think that this is somehow relevant to anything. Here we go.
Anyone in high school?
Correct.
And through what years in college, since we're probing into your personal life here?
Many years after. I'll leave it at that.
Many years after. So I think what we should conclude is, because this guy's a Christian, because he's a devout, conservative Christian. Why don't we use the word devout to describe a devout Republican? I mean, this stuff is a faith-based political party in general, isn't it? I mean, none of their beliefs have ever been borne out by evidence. There's never been a single fucking example where a society run on conservative principles does well. Look at Kansas. Look at all the despotic regimes all over the world. It works for concentrating wealth and for providing a great life for the cronies of the dear leader. That's where conservatism ultimately ends up at. Or just failing like it did in Kansas and destroying communities and societies until they have to actually just do something sane like raise taxes and pay for shit so that people can get by. Anyway, side note.
Many years after.
So we're just going to trust him that he was a virgin until marriage, right? Isn't that what lifelong Christians are supposed to be? Aren't you committing some kind of terrible sin if you're not? Did you get it in there before? Isn't that the case? So I bet what's going on here is his wife thought he was a virgin until their wedding night. Maybe they did that little secret, put it in the poop chute. God doesn't care about the number 2, and let it rip, I doubt it. I don't know. Who knows? He probably did, to be honest. Actually, there was this whole part of this thing about this Yale Law School club that he belonged to, and one of the stories about him expressed how one of their slogans, they were chanting outside some women's club or a sorority or something. They were chanting "No" means yes, and "yes" means anal. So a good group of good bunch of groups here, aren't they? These fucking people. And these are the people who get groomed for power in our culture. They come from money. They come from privilege. They go to schools where they're taught to be entitled, and they act like this. They're, and then they end up in power. Because we look the other way when it's white guys, when it's powerful people. So he's just lying right here because his wife is sitting next to him. If he says, no, I wasn't a virgin, although he brought it up, volunteering this notion, he'd have to confess to his wife that he lied to her on their wedding night, unless they had an understanding as it was. Maybe that's the case. Maybe she's fully in on this lie as well. I'm calling it a lie based on what his roommate, what this guy Steve Kantrowitz wrote on Twitter. That he claimed otherwise about being a virgin in a conversation during their freshman year. That could have been, maybe he was lying at that time. Maybe, sometimes men do brag about things that didn't happen. I never did get the high score in Pac-Man like I used to tell girls. Never did, unfortunately. Second highest. No, I don't know. What the fuck am I trying to do? But anyway, so this whole virgin thing is ridiculous. It's stupid. It has nothing to do with anything. But it does bring up to me Rush Limbaugh. When he, I'm not sure when this was, but he was talking about consent. I don't know if you remember this or not. And he made it seem like the problem, because of all these liberals, and he was speaking about the Me Too movement and men getting, quote unquote, in trouble for their behavior, was that consent is all liberals care about. Here, let's just listen to the audio. This is pretty shocking. Here we go.
The rules. You know what the magic word? The only thing that matters in American sexual mores today is one thing.
By the way, I'm sorry I put his voice in your head. It's just he just sounds like a whale that beached itself, but somehow its mouth moves around and just sound escapes.
You can do anything. The left will promote and understand and tolerate anything as long as there is one element.
What's that? What's that element? What is it? A recycling container? Diapers?
You know what it is.
Oh.
Consent. If there is consent on both or all three or all four, however many are involved in the sex act, it's perfectly fine. Whatever it is.
Yes. Yes. What the fuck? Of course. Who would do, who does things to people without consent? Rapists. Criminals. Section, what the fuck? He said this out loud into a microphone, like I'm doing. What a fucking maniac. Yes. 3 or 4 people, of course. You get their consent. You get people to agree. Can I put it in there? Yeah, go for it. All right, let's have some fun. You don't do it without asking. Maybe there's other ways of getting approval, and you should, but it should be something that's clear, that's understood, and that it's okay to stop if some party gets uncomfortable and doesn't want to go anymore. No. That banana's 3 days old. I don't eat carbs. Fuck this guy. What the fuck is this shit? This is the kind of thing that conservative men hear. The crisis in America is conservatism influencing masculinity. This is dangerous. This kind of talk gets girls raped. These guys are taught this. I'm not saying everybody who hears this believes it, but these ideas are common on this side of the ledger. This is dangerous stuff.
But if the left ever senses and smells that there's no consent in part of the equation, then here come the rape police.
Yeah, here come the rape police. Yes, there should be rape police. Anyway, so that's great. I just I remember hearing that and just being like, I really got to bring my podcast back so I can say some nonsense about it. There you go, though. There's the Republican Party for you. This is one of their leaders, one of their thinkers. This guy's had influence over Republicans and Republican listeners and Republican politicians for decades. It's no wonder this stuff is so dangerous. People get hurt. One thing I'd like to point out, first of all, private schools, get rid of them. Fucking ban that shit. All it does is create class distinctions in which these grooming academies like Georgetown Prep and all these other places wind up producing this kind of thing. Are they automatically bad by their own merit? No, not necessarily. But it creates massive differentiation in education quality. America is filled with great education if you're rich. If you live in a very wealthy public area, you can have good schools, or if you can afford to send your children to private schools, which you can only do if you're wealthy. Or like I was as a kid, one of the poverty scrubs that got to go there for a year and a half, and then they kicked you out. So we should get rid of private schools. Do some research. I was reading up on this. I'd like to talk about this more in more detail. Actually, it's already getting over an hour, coming up on an hour here. Finland has one of the best education systems if you measure in terms of outcome. Their students are always scoring at the very top, along with Korea, Japan, in terms of educational achievement, mathematics understanding, and other things like that. I'm too stupid to even articulate it. But they do actually take a different approach than Korea, Japan. Korea and Japan tend to take a more strict, just buckle down and do your work. It's a high pressure. It's a lot of intensity. In Finland, though, they take an approach towards equality, where they actually have made private schools. They're not technically illegal, but they've got a law that requires all education to be publicly funded and that no student should ever pay a dime for their education in Finland. And they have excellent outcomes. I'm going to do a little bit more research so I can talk about it with a little bit more accuracy, but we are not doing that. We have a very, very class-based thing where you're lucky to get through high school without getting shot or with some sense of critical thinking skills. I think ultimately one of the things that will save this planet, and this is a reason why the planet is not going to be saved because it's not going to happen, is that we should do what Finland does globally. Education should be a global civil right, a human right, and it should be modeled off of whatever they're doing in Northern Europe. Finland's not the only country there that does great, or even the Korea-Japan model. That sounds like that's a little bit intense. Maybe we could achieve similar results with a little bit more chilling the fuck out. That's probably better. But whatever it is, we could do far better, especially for young girls. Young girls who have education are empowered to slowly over time stop putting up with the bullshit that their primitive cultures place them into all over the world, including America. This would help so much just to get... ultimately, we need to expand access to bullshit detection. The problem in America is people's bullshit detectors are broken. They can't tell they're being scammed, or they're too stupid and tribal. They fall back on old racism and ancient hatreds that their stupid parents taught them, and they wind up being susceptible to con men like Donald Trump. So we need to increase the bullshit detectors. We need to improve bullshit detection all over the place. And it starts with this podcast. Hit subscribe and like. I don't know. So anyway, we could do better. We could do better, and Finland's a good model. We should look at them and figure out what they're doing and do it here in America. Of course, it would cost money, and then a billionaire might have to give up a little bit of money, and billionaires don't want to do that, so we don't get to have good schools. That's how that works. We also have been taught that we shouldn't trust smart people. Weird how that seems to line up with a system of control, of maintaining a stupid population so that you can more easily manipulate their fears and their hopes and keep them stressed and prevent them from realizing their own worth and their own power. Welcome to America. All right, so real quick, what did I say? I was going to talk about Fahrenheit 9/11 or 11/9. We're not going to do that this time. I want to just touch on something real fast here. Keep waiting for the stove guy to come over. Isn't that distracting, knowing someone's on his way over? Real fast. Let's just jump back to this real quick. I did go to Wikipedia and found some stuff about Kavanaugh. By the way, follow up from last week, John McCain's Wikipedia, you can see the revisions. So I'm going to go dig through and see if I can find the parts where I was reading about all the fights he got into, because someone had changed what I read, man. And maybe what I was reading was the bullshit part, because as far as I know, people can access Wikipedia, but that's a side note. So anyway, this thing about Kavanaugh's personal life. So from the Wikipedia section, Kavanaugh had his first date with his future wife, Ashley Estes, then personal secretary to President George W. Bush. She was in the Bush administration, personal secretary. She knows where he keeps his candy. So she served a war criminal. This woman is a political operative. She's deep in it. Their first date was on September 10th, 2001. The day before 9/11. I mean, I'm not saying that means anything, but it's just like, that's something else. The day before, though, So we all thought that it was just another Shark Week world, not knowing that the entire planet was about to change because America was baited into idiotic response to terrorist attack that has caused nothing but untold torture and horrors and expenses for the rest of time. So it worked. 9/11 was the most successful Kickstarter of all time. But here's a funny detail. Maybe I'm misreading this too, so you can tell me. All right, so first date on September 10, 2001. Next sentence. They were among the occupants of the White House evacuated during the September 11 attacks. Wait a minute. September 10th is a different day then. So she stayed over on the first date? This contradicts everything I was suggesting about them being virgins. Well, I guess just because you stay over doesn't mean you actually bang. But what? Oh, she worked at the White House, so she was there. I don't know. All right, yeah, you know what? I sound really stupid right now. I'm a fucking moron. I should cut this part out. She worked there. I guess that makes sense. They were both there, though. Okay. This is embarrassing. Fuck. Another one here. Well, in early 2006, Kavanaugh and his wife bought a $1.2 million home in Chevy Chase, Section 5, Maryland. First of all, 4 words in the name of a town. Chevy Chase, Section 5. That's bullshit. Chevy Chase. Like it sounds like weirdly Hollywood, but also Section 5, like it's District 9 or something. Trying to improve it. Kavanaugh reported that he earned a $220,000 salary as a federal judge and $27,000 as a lecturer at Harvard Law during the previous year. In 2018, actually, that's in 2018. Kavanaugh reported. So, the guy makes $220,000. Made $27,000 lecturing at Harvard. He's not hurting. His life's not being destroyed. His victims deserve to be heard. He ran the Boston Marathon in 2010, 2015. Yeah, he probably cheated. No, I don't know. He ran the marathon. So it goes on about how he's Catholic and he does shit at Jesuit Academy. So anyway, boy, I really misread that. I forgot that she was it's even though it's in the sentence before, so they were both. But okay, they both worked for Bush and they both had to get out of 9/11. They were probably giving each other hand jobs in the limo or something. Alleged hand jobs. All right, so real fast, let's touch on this thing that happened here with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, as everybody knows, is a golem from the 8th dimension sent to make the other creeps of the planet look downright fuckable. This guy is just a disgusting sack of gummy worms who, no offense to gummy worms, but Ted Cruz, you're gross. I've actually seen him in person. I've been feet away from him. When I was working with Jimmy Dore, we went to a Ted Cruz speech in Iowa during the Iowa caucuses. Drove out into the countryside. It was very weird. I'll tell you my response, actually. I was expecting to see this guy come in, and there he was. He's shorter than me, which I always like to see. He comes up. I'll be honest. I didn't hate him as much as I expected to. And not even referring to his speech. His speech was bullshit. It was conservative claptrap. The audience asked a bunch of questions about, like, the wildlife. Remember the... what's the name of the place? Moliere? And that's not Moliere. Mahler, some kind of weird name like that. Those Bundy dudes that took over that federal facility. So they were all worried about their fate. They were asking questions about Hillary. It was just really weird. But Ted Cruz came out, and just seeing him made me hate him less, which I was surprised by. I was just I hadn't seen a lot of big political figures who are well known. I'd seen Bernie from a distance. I did end up shaking Bernie Sanders' hand, by the way. That was pretty fun. I'm sure he remembers it too. But I think it was just because he was a human. I see people as humans. It's maybe it might be why I'm liberal or so, I don't know. But like I saw a human being. He does this performative hug and kiss with his wife, to which I went, woohoo, yeah, get him. I was talking to her too. Get him, get that lip. Get that slimy ass, white, crusty shit having lip. Lady, get him. Whatever her name is. But he was human. And so my hatred of him went from like a negative 99 to negative 97. I'm not saying it changed much, but I just remember thinking, that's a human being. It's embarrassing that we are the same species, but, and I'm not defending him at all. He's a scumbag. He's a snake. Everybody who's ever met him decides they hate him quickly, and they should. He's a horrible person, but I just remember being kind of surprised by my own, like, oh, Oh, yeah. I kind of expected like Dracula to come floating by. That would have been fun. But anyway, so Ted Cruz was trying to eat dinner somewhere in D.C., some fancy place, and he got shouted out. So this is another one of these situations you might recall from when the Trump administration was torturing children, and it's still torturing children, by the way. They have not gotten all the kids reunited with their families. There's many still held in detention camps, concentration camps, you might call them. But when that was sort of hitting its head or coming to a head, Kirstjen Nielsen, Secretary of Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, she was shouted out of a restaurant after going out for Mexican food. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was refused service at a restaurant. That became a big thing. That's when the civility questions came into the thing. These people are torturing children. They're literally caging babies. And they had the gall to say that they're being treated uncivilly. Being shouted at is the least these people should be worried about. They should be locked up and fed a nutritious diet because prisoners have rights. But they should be fucking locked up. Anyway, so Ted Cruz got shouted down, and the protesters were shouting, "We believe survivors." I have the audio, but listen for, there's a funny moment where someone says Beto O'Rourke is running against Ted Cruz. They're neck and neck right now. It's be a pretty substantial victory to unseat this guy from Texas. It'll be embarrassing for him. It'll be embarrassing for Texas Republicans. It'll be embarrassing for national Republicans. And so we all hope it happens. Beto O'Rourke, good dude, very good politician. Hopefully he's a good, what do you call politicians who do their jobs? Governor? Governor is a type of politician. His governing is as good as his campaigning. I'm using the term governing in the generic sense. What do you call it? What is the word for what politicians do? Politicking? Vote passing? Legislating? Legislating, that probably works. Okay. Oh, if you're still listening to this, thanks. I'm not sure. You don't have to. You can click. There's much better shit out there for you. You know that, right? Just so you, okay. All right. So anyway, here's some audio. Ted Cruz being a motherfucker, being tossed out of a restaurant. And there's also some good quotes at the end, too, that I'll pause in the middle here probably. Here we go. Oh.
We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors.
Beto is way hotter than you do. We believe.
Did you hear it? Beto is way hotter than you, dude. Let's rewind it a little bit. Here we go.
Beto is way hotter than you do.
Got him. I'd fuck Beto. I wouldn't. I'd make out. I'd make out with him. Yeah. Did you see that picture of him in a band? Come on, he's in a band. Why does that work? Why the fuck? Why does that work? Probably played bass. The least sexy band member. They got one big strong arm. Like they're the fiddler crabs of the band industry. Right, let's keep listening.
Survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. God bless you.
Excuse me. Let my wife through.
We believe survivors. For God, we believe survivors. We believe survivors.
All right, they're really laying into him. He does want his wife to get through. And as much as I'm for this kind of thing, I think it's good that people in power are held to some account, because we have a system in place here where so few powerful people are ever really held to account. The incumbency rate's ridiculous. It's not easy to just vote them out. They have all the power. They gain so much from these positions, and they have such influence over our lives that they deserve this kind of public scorn and public scrutiny. But that said, them feeling physically threatened, especially their spouses feeling physically threatened, is not okay. And it's not, there is a line that can be crossed. That's why these kinds of things need to be done with words and volume. And you can be aggressive with those words and that volume, but that's one of the risks of this sort of activism. I'm for it, but there is a chance that it could be misinterpreted and or degrade into something resembling intimidation, physical intimidation or violence, and that sorts of thing should be cautioned about. That I got more to say about screaming at politicians, but let's just listen to this a little bit.
We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe
right, it's a funny moment there where they finally get out of the little scrum and they're standing there. This guy's trying to open the door, but he can't open the door. When you want the door to open quick, it never works. You know? Classic, isn't it?
We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors.
All right, they're cheering. The Cruzes have finally left. They're on their way out.
Leave the premises. This is a private space.
How many of you support Kavanaugh? Ted Cruz and Brett Kavanaugh are best friends.
I like that. She just screams to. I want to hear that one more time. Here we go.
Ted Cruz and Brett Kavanaugh are best friends. Vote no on Kavanaugh. Vote no on Kavanaugh. Cancel Kavanaugh.
Cancel cat. Okay, so now they're really into it. They're already out of the room. Just let the other people in the restaurant eat their spaghetti or whatever the fuck you order at fancy restaurants. But good for these people. Good for them. Politicians deserve this shit. And honestly, why don't we shout out every politician in America? Every single one. Especially at the national level. How dare any of these fucking people show themselves in public? Why do we hold politicians to such a low standard? Look at the state of this country. Look at how fucked up this country is. America is rapidly heading off a cliff, and it was before Trump. It does not look after the interests of its people. Has not protected the environment the way it deserves. We're poisoning kids with our lead pipes and Flint and all over the rest of the place. We allow corporations and rich people to run this fucking place, and they write the rules to only benefit them, and they externalize the costs in terms of pollution, in terms of ignorance, in terms of keeping us stupid, keeping us from being able to unite behind unions and behind proper understanding of our worth and our value. This country has done nothing but extract wealth from its own people. It started as a genocidal takeover of an entire continent. Different era, not the same as now. Still a genocidal takeover of a continent. Started with the enslavement. Hold on, I got the stove guy coming by here. Okay. Good timing, stove guy. So that goes way back. We haven't reconciled the racial issues in this country. We haven't. We need to. It needs to happen fast. It needs to happen soon. But a nation that has Donald fucking Trump as president is a nation that has been poorly led. Has been led. I paused because I'm trying to think of a much more strong way of saying, like, no politician in America deserves to eat a peaceful meal. Even the ones you like. All right? Next time I see Bernie Sanders at the taco truck, I'm going to scream at him and say, Bernie, get out of here with Ted Cruz's wife. You get out of here, you jerk. No, I'm okay. But I do think there's some merit to this point. America is far too fucked up that for us to celebrate a single politician, anybody who had a role in it getting this way and it being this bad. Homelessness, suicide, veterans, suicide problem, the gun issue, 35,000 people a year ended early. Their lives are destroyed because of this country. All the people that die from lack of health care, all the people that suffer and then die from lack of health care, all the people who go bankrupt, all the students burdened by debt, all the students that enter the world with nothing but, financial, I don't want to say slavery, that sounds a little, servitude that they can never get away from. They can't declare it as bankruptcy. So it's jobs that don't pay enough to even make the payments. And we act like politicians are respectable people. This country's been led into fucking hell, and we deserve better. You deserve better. Just realizing how much of a preachy guy I sound like. So let's knock off this crap. We should be doing this to everybody. I know it's absurd. It's not gonna. We only do it when they torture babies. That's our line. Or when it's Ted Cruz, who voted for torturing babies. I find this is one reason the McCain funeral got under my skin, because venerating politicians, it's insane. We have lower standards for them than for any other people on the planet. And that's by design. It's because they run this place, because the people who control them control the media. And we've all been conditioned to not expect better from them. And that needs to change. Boom. I got to text my stove guy back. So, the fuck. I hope this is working. Hit me up, guys. Winners and Losers Podcast at gmail.com or on Twitter at Hank_Thompson. I also started a Twitter account, Winner Loser Show. A little awkward without the S's on there, but it'll work. That's going to be like a show feed. And I have a YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting these on YouTube. Currently just with a little animation and audio stuff, but eventually that might become video. Video is really one of the better, more effective ways to build an audience in this whole thing. And, I got fired. I lost my job now. I didn't even get my first paycheck, and they sent out the email that they're ending the wing that I work for. Fuck. I had... Is it not like I was making in the 35s, between 35 and 40. So it's not like this is one of those get rich jobs, but it was enough to cover my bills, pay some of the debt that I have, and just not feel so stressed out. I've been unemployed for like 2.5 years or more doing freelance shit. And just, this is a job that was really going to help. I actually was quite content with having this to help me get by, leave me with enough energy to work on this podcast and to work on some other projects, and continue to pursue this comedy career or whatever the hell I'm doing. And so I felt good. I had like a week where I felt nice, where I was like, oh, okay, I got a job. I can get the guacamole. Nope. Can't get the guacamole anymore. I was really needing it. It's been hard when you got one of these fucking wacky heads like I got. It's been running close to the, not the edge. My nerves have been they've been frayed. So it came at a good time. And I was like, oh, no, this feels like a life preserver. It's not the best job in my dream job or anything, but for right now, this will do. And now it's gone. So I got a couple more days to work. I like the people. The work wasn't too hard. It was. I was driving Teslas, actually. It's an interesting thing. Actually, now I'm kind of an expert at driving Teslas. How about that? Who knew? Who knew that would ever be a thing? So, now it's not, and it's fucking gone. And, oh, God. Fuck. Really. So, but maybe this works out. Maybe this is the universe telling me to get my ass in gear on this podcast and start actually cranking out videos and work on Suck Professor and do some stuff, or not. I don't know. But now I got to look for work again, so that sucks. Anybody in LA is hiring video editors, motion graphics, and animators, hit me up. I also know how to stand still, and I'm good at talking, and I'm good at shutting up, and I'm good at... Okay, now I'm just begging for work on my own podcast. That's a great way to go about it. But anyway, so that sort of sucks. I had a nice week where I didn't feel so insecure about work. And now as soon as I got that email, I felt my little fucked up heart filling with anxiety all over again. No, you're good. And so you just sort of that constant ongoing poverty tension that exists when you can't tip like you want to, or you do buy food but you're doing... Every single purchase comes tinged with that poverty math of like, oh, fuck, that's $1. I should get the cheaper one. So you're always doing that kind of thinking. And it was really nice to have a week where I didn't have that. So my goal is to get to a point where I don't have to think about shit like that. And then I can move on to, the next layer of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a subscription to Esquire magazine. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. I love you. I hope this is all good for you. Tell me if it's not. I'm sure it's, honestly, this is not the worst podcast, but this could be a lot fucking better. I know. I'm going to make it. It's going to get better. Just keep hanging in there. All right? Solo thing is real weird. Go to your bathroom and talk to yourself for an hour. See how you feel. And then put it on the internet. I'm not in my bathroom, by the way. I'm just sitting at my desk, which is, I don't know, kind of weird too. Okay, I'm just rambling. I'm going to text my stove guy. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening. I love you. All right, be good. Hope you're doing all right in your life. Everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Okay, bye.